Welcome back. Quarter two has begun. It's official. Most of you are still here. That's good. Way to make it through quarter one. Quarter one is the toughest. This quarter will be a little bit easier, starting with the first standard, which is really just review of what we've already done. It's the third standard of y equals mx plus b. You're going to have to graph y equals mx plus b in this standard, and I've been teaching you to graph that by putting a point at the y-intercept and then going up and over the slope and putting another point and then connecting them. I'm going to show you a different way that's probably a little bit more conceptually correct or maybe makes more sense. So here's a story of, say, a gym or something that costs $5 to join, a $5 membership, a one-time fee of $5, and then $2 per week. And we're going to set up a little table here to calculate how much this is going to cost you depending on how many weeks you go to this gym. So X is going to be equal to weeks. So let's just start with 0 weeks. So you don't go to the gym at all. You didn't get charged the $2 because you didn't go any of the weeks, but you still paid your $5 membership. So how much did you spend total? Y is total spent. You spent $5 because you got to spend $5 to get the membership plus $2 per week. So let's say you go for 1 week. So X would be 1 because X represents weeks. So if we go for 1 week, now how much did you spend? Well, you spent $2 for that week plus the $5 to get in. That's not going away, so you spent $7. Let's say you go for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, that cost you $4 because $2 per week is $4. Plus the $5 to get in, now you're up to $9. You see the pattern here? 3 weeks, that'd be $6 plus your $5 to get in. 4 weeks would be $8 plus your $5 to get in. So that pattern is going to continue to add $2 per week. Every week that you add, that you go, you have to add another $2 onto the total amount that you've spent. So how does this translate into a graph? If we wanted to represent this data on how much you're going to spend depending on how many weeks you go as a graph instead of a chart or a table, we would draw a little graph like this with our X and Y axis. The Y axis is total money spent. Y equals total money spent. X equals weeks. And we would treat these points in our table, well, I called them points, but these entries in our table we would treat as points, and we would plot the points in our graph. So how do we treat these as points? Ordered pairs, an X and a Y, 0, 5. That's the same thing as the point 0, 5 right here. So that means that 0 weeks you spent $5. That's this point right there. 1, 7, after 1 week, you go over 1 after 1 week. Now you've spent $7. So you're up to here. That was the next point. So what I'm trying to show you here is that entries in a table are just ordered pairs. The ordered pair 1, 7. This is the ordered pair 1, 7 right there. 1, 7, 1, 7. Those are ordered pairs. Those are just points. So I didn't say anything really here about y equals mx plus b. I didn't show you the equation. You don't necessarily know what b and m are, at least not easily right off the bat. But you can still graph this by just thinking it through and making a table. So making a table and using those entries in the table as points is another way to make a graph. If you're not liking the y equals mx plus b method, then you can do this, and then so 2, 9, and so on and so forth, and then you can connect your points and it would look like this. Now the old way, or the other way I was showing you, was to make this into an equation, which would be y equals 2x plus 5. You would start at 5, put a point there. Your slope is 2, which is 2 over 1, which is rise over run. So you would go up 2 and over 1. That would be your second point. And you'd end up with the exact same graph, just a different way of going about doing it. This is just kind of like a algorithm, like a formula that you're just plugging in numbers and getting it. This is actually showing you the data. This is more real right here. This I think is more conceptual. So if you're having trouble with this, with the rise over run or what the y-intercept is, then maybe plotting points in a table and then entering the points on the graph would be easier. Now, as far as these points go, there's 2 points that are important, or I should say more important than the rest. And that's the points where the graph crosses the y-axis and the points where they cross the x-axis. So if we were to extend this graph over, this would be our x-axis, somewhere over in there. So an easier way, if you're going to use the table method to come up with points, is to just do 2 points, because remember, 2 points make a line. If you have 2 points, you can connect them, and that's your line. So you really only need 2 points over here to make a straight line. And the most important ones are your x and your y intercept. So let me start you off fresh on an example like that, because this is what the homework's going to look like today. I keep calling it homework, but the problems in the do section are going to be drawing a graph using just 2 points, and those points are going to be the x and the y intercepts. And now they are going to give you an equation. So let's say the equation is 4x plus 6y equals 12. Notice it's not in y equals mx plus b form. That doesn't matter. So that's another reason why making a table can be easier than trying to do the y equals mx plus b and start at your y-intercept and go up and over, because this isn't even in y equals mx plus b. So with this method that I'm about to show you, you don't even have to convert that to y equals mx plus b. All you got to do is make your table, x and y, and you have to put in a 0 for x and a 0 for y. That's all we need are 2 points. We need the 0 comma what? That's the y-intercept. So if we're going to graph this, the point 0 something means we don't move left or right at all. We're just going up or down. That's going to be our y-intercept. So this first one with a 0 in the x column is our y-intercept. And with a 0 in the y column, that's our x-intercept, because the 0 in the y column means whatever x is, we go left or right that far, and then we don't go up or down. So this second point here is our x-intercept. This first point is our y-intercept. But how do we know what the values of y and x are? We have to substitute in 0 into this equation. Remember, we don't have to change this. We don't have to put it in y equals mx plus b. We just have to substitute in a 0. So let's start by substituting in a 0 for x. You substitute in a 0 for x and you get 4 times 0 plus 6y equals 12. Anything times 0 is 0, so you just end up with 6y equals 12. And then you divide by 6 and you get 2. So y, when x is equal to 0, so this would kind of be like, if we go back to that membership, if x is 0, if you didn't go for any weeks, then y was equal to 2. That means in this particular story, the membership was $2. All right, now let's find our x-intercept. And then we can plot those points and connect them and we're done. So this is the same concept. To find the x-intercept, now we're going to put a 0 in for y. So you get 4x plus 6 times 0 equals 12. Anything times 0 is 0, so it's just 4x equals 12. You divide by 4 to solve for x, and you get 3. So at 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, that's our x-intercept, and 0, 2, 1, 2, that's our y-intercept. So that was the graph right there. And that's what you have to do in today's worksheet. You have to, they'll give you a little picture of a graph that's blank, and you have to draw a line on there. So you're going to have to graph it. They'll give you the equation, and they'll give you this. I'm not sure if they give you the table or not, but that's how you have to do it. You have to fill in 2 entries in the table. 0 something and something 0. Your y-intercept and your x-intercept, and connect them. And all you're doing is substituting in 0 for y to figure out what the x value is, and substitute in 0 for x to figure out what the y value is. And that maybe is an easier way to graph linear equations.